Okay, so we're going to work on the mouth. Let's turn this so you can see it. There, that's a little bit better. You can see the side view here, and he's got a happy smile. It's got that lazy S in there, and in order to get that lazy S, if you notice, here's mine that I had done. So we've got to create a little bit of a chin in here, and then comes around, and then ducks back in just a little bit, comes out, and then curls. So I would draw it on first, make sure that you're happy with the shape of it. Here's the one that's not done. So you can see here's the indentation here, so we've got to create a little bit of a shape in there in order to create a chin going back, and then the lazy S. So I'll draw that on and then we'll cut it. So just draw it first. So there it is, drawn on. Try and get some symmetry to it. Now I would cut that out with a V-tool first, and then come back later with a knife to sharpen it and get the shadows in it. So I'll go ahead and use a V-tool on it first. So there it is with the V-tool run through. And I'll go back with if I'm happy with the shape of that, it's a little bit off center, but remember you can only see one side at a time, so if it isn't quite exactly right, it won't really matter too much. I'll go back now with a knife. Yeah, so with a knife, I'm going to come in and I'm going to keep it close to the chin part, and I'm going to just put the knife in there and run it around and create that shape there. So now I can come back and just do a bit of an undercut. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
So you can see how the dark shadow shows up real fast. But I always use a V-tool first, because then if I have to move it a little bit I can. But now you've got an awful lot of good shadow in there. So looking at it from a side view, there he is. He's got this little bit of a smile by turning up the corner there. And I guess you could bring it up even a lot further if you wanted to. You want to give him a real happy face. My design is a little bit different than the one that Gary Butt did. But anyway, if you notice, I've got a fairly sharp angle in here, and I don't like sharp angles mostly on animals or people, but it led me to make the eye follow that down, and then it ends up pointing towards the mouth, and that's true on both sides. As you can see, it comes down and helps to shape into the mouth. On the original one I did, that's how I designed it there. Even maybe a bit more pronounced there, but you can see that it helps give the sorry about that, gives the design a little bit more flow to it. Comes down and around. Okay, now the neck can be, as I pointed out earlier, that can be round or it could be an oval, depending on what shape you want to end up going into the body. So let's talk about that for a second now. The neck has to be shaped, so I'm going to get rid of all those marks in there, and then I want to bring that bell up. The bell doesn't look really very natural, and granted it's going to be underneath the neck, so you're not going to see it too much, but it should have a bit of a separation here, and then have in other words, a place where it joins on. Not absolutely necessary, but I'll go ahead and try and design that. First I'll take off my pin marks there, and then give it somewhat of a design. So there's there it is there.
Kenny? No,
And what I did was I run around the outside with a stop cut around the collar, put a knife cutter all the way around the outside, and cleaned up coming in, make that collar sit in. So I changed that front shoulder and pushed it in underneath a little bit, rounded over the bottom of the bell, and then left a little notch at the bottom to indicate, well, that's how it's joined on. I guess if you wanted to get really fancy, you could make a ring in there and give it a little bit more of a feature, but again, it's underneath the neck, so you may not ever see it. But anyway, there's how I would have finished off the collar around the neck, so that when the collar goes in, or the neck goes in, then you've got a feature there. It doesn't show up very good in this light, but yeah, that's a little bit better. And where my repair is at the top here, I'll just get a little bit of glue and sawdust and shove in there and clean that up a little bit. Now the clanger on the bell, if you want to make it hang down further, then just move up take some material off the bottom of the bell and move it up and let the clanger come down. Okay, let's work on the udder and the teats. And you can see that the udder is not a round. It's more of an oval and even an oblong type shape. It's not and it kind of squeezes in behind the back legs and then pops out a little bit. And the teats are round on the end. He has them bigger on the end, but it's not particularly necessary to do that. So what we've got here is a situation where we still got material underneath behind there. So we got to eliminate some of the material in this area in here. And then round over the udder and then bring the teat out. Now keep in mind that the grain is up and down, and that will easily break off. It doesn't matter whether it's this one or that one or any of them, they're all going to be very easily broke off. So we're going to start shaping it, going around, and what I'll do is I'll use a V-tool to get the shape in and get the material removed on the inside where the udder and the teat join, and then I'll use about a number 7 gouge to start shaping around the teat. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so there it is with the material removed in around the udder down in there. So now I use, this is a number 5 7mm, and I start shaping it this way so that I can get the cylinder effect. And you can create that whatever shape you want. If you want it thinner towards the udder, you could, and then come to the end and start shaping that around. And again, use the gouge upside down and take little bits at a time. Remember, this is very fragile. You can knock this off with no trouble at all. So there it is, rounded on the end. And you could, I guess you could sandpaper it too if you wanted to. I'm not a sandpaper guy. So on this one here, because I've got a lot of material there, see how thin I've got to get it down to the size of the other one. So in order to remove that, I know that I want to be able to get access between the leg and the udder. So I would remove the wood on the leg side first, and that gives me the room in here then to manipulate and use maybe a small V-tool or a small gouge to get in there to round the udder eventually. So remove the wood the way it makes it easier down the road to work on finishing off the carving. So can you see in here now I've got enough room in here to work in and cut in the side of the leg and remove a bit of wood on the udder in order to make that work. So by removing the wood on the inside of that teat there, I was able to get enough room in here now to work some carving tools. So the same thing would apply, of course, over here on the other guy and this one over here. And this gives you an idea how the two are set up. So the leg squeezes the udder, and then it pops out the back. And I just use a combination of V-tool and knife cut to shape this a little bit better around the leg. Okay, so there's the herd of cows, and if you notice, every one is different. Every one is different.
They all have feet.
And most of them have feet.
You can see.
And if they don't have feet, we've arranged them so they look like they have feet. All right, so we got a class completion there.